Hi there, my name is Teacher Ilona and welcome to my channel. Today, grade 11s, we are going to go through a practice question, or if you want a past paper. This gets requested a lot on my channel and I thought it's about time, let's do a past paper. So let's get into it. All right, so I have obtained this past paper through the Department of Education learner book, and I got the memo from the teacher guide, which are both made available online. I will make sure to put their links down below, and I have them at the end of my slides. Because I've used the information as is, I do not take any credit for the information given in these slides. I'm very grateful that I'm able to use these in order to assist students and help students, but in no way do I take any credit for this information. Also, the purpose of my channel is to help and assist students with their learning. Alright, so here's the basic rules. I think you guys are used to it. Every paper has these questions, so let's quickly go through them. Here are the instructions for term 1. Remember, it's out of 100 marks and it's going to be 1.5 hours. In section A, it's compulsory. You need to answer all of the questions. Section B, there will be 3 questions. You answer 2 questions. It's very, very important. I see a lot of students doing all 3 questions and you are wasting your time. Time that could be spent on the essay, you're now taking for section B. So make sure section A, you answer everything. Section B, 2 questions only. Then section C, you will have 2 essays. You only need to answer 1 of them. Again, important. Do you need to answer the first one that comes up? No. It is a choice. Between question 5 and 6, you get to choose which one you feel more confident in doing, and that's the essay you will do. Alright, just going through it, make sure you read every question carefully and you take note of what is required from you. Number the questions accordingly to what is used on the question paper. No marks will be awarded if you have numbered it incorrectly. Except where other instructions are given, answers must be in full sentences. This is also very important, guys. Just a tip. I see a lot of students, we do teach and encourage students to learn via keywords, but please make sure you're writing in full sentences. If you're just going to write a few keywords, you can't be awarded the marks for that. Then use the mark allocation to see the length and the depth of the question, also to see how many bullet points you need for how many marks. And then below is a time allocation, so you can see question 1 is 20 marks. It should take you 20 minutes. With section B, it should take you 20 minutes. With section B, you will see here that it's for 20 marks, 20 marks, 20 marks. Remember, you're only answering 2 of them. So it should take you 40 marks, 20 marks for the one question, 20 marks for the second question. And then for the essay, there are 2 questions as well. You answer 1 for 40 marks. This should take you 30 minutes. So use this as a guide to guide yourself. What I used to do in exams is I would actually write to whatever time the exam started. Let's say for argument's sake, the exam starts at 1 o'clock. Okay, 1 o'clock, I would write there, start exam 1 o'clock. Section A, I should be done after 20 minutes. So it's going to be 1:20. Section B, what time should I be done with? The 2 questions. And then the 3rd question. And what I would do is as I would go along, and you know, when the invigilator says there's an hour left, there's an hour and a half left, there's half an hour left, that type of thing, I would actually then use that to gauge myself to see, must I hurry up? Am I taking too much time and wasting too much time on a question? Then begin each question on a new page, and you may use a calculator. I haven't seen this too much in business, but you may use a calculator and then write neatly and legibly. Write neatly and legibly. All right, so let's kick right into it. We have section A. Okay, remembering for section A, you get 2 marks each. So for 1.1, you are going to get the 10 marks, should they all be correct. All right, so industrial action is a challenge in the which environment? we've got market, micro, macro, and labor. So the answer is micro. All right, just to go through it, why is it micro? I know this confuses students quite a lot because they see strikes as an external thing. It is not. So when we're talking about micro, remember we're talking inside the business. Inside the business, we have full control. So inside the business is our employees. Even though they're striking outside, they are our employees. We have full control over them. All right? So while they are striking, remember with strikes, it has to be a legal thing. We have to sign off. We have to be aware that these people will be striking at such and such a date, whatever. Should they strike longer than what was agreed, then we can tell them we won't pay you if you are going to continue striking. Do you understand how we have full control over that situation? So micro, remember inside is our employees, they are striking. So it is micro. Then we have Fikele's beauty salon operates in which sector? The answer is tertiary. Your keyword there was beauty salon. So if you remember beauty salon, with tertiary, we have the services. So that's why tertiary would be here, because we are offering a service. I'm cutting your hair, I'm braiding your hair, whatever the case is. So remember, tertiary, it's not going to be micro because micro is not a sector. So already we can scrap that one. Secondary, we know that we are taking a raw material and changing it into something. We're not doing that with a service. And primary is your raw or natural resources. All right, then 1.1.3. The majority of the shares in this form of ownership are owned by the government. And there are our options. The answer is the second one. All right, so the ownership of the shares, so RITC, SOC, which stands for state-owned company. So that was your keyword, because we know PTY Ltd is a private company. Ltd, it's not going to be that one. And Smith & Son, we know, is partnership. So when we look at owned by the government, state-owned company. Then Seth's newly released architectural textbook cannot be copied without an author's permission. This is known as copyright. Remember, with copyright, okay, it needs to be, you need to get permission in order to do that. First, now we know bootlegging, that's a socioeconomic issue. So we're not even, that one's not even in this one. Patent, don't get confused between copyright, patent, and trademarks, right? So that one's a bit of a one to throw you off. And then counterfeiting, that's also a socioeconomic issue. So we know that that one's definitely not for this section either. All right, moving on. The aim of this form of ownership is to render a service and not make a profit. Now, important, not make a profit. So when you're looking at those options, we can see that non-profit company is going to be our option, because a closed corporation makes money, cooperatives as well as partnerships. It says there we render a service, but we make no profit. So we know non-profit company. All right, hope you guys are enjoying it so far. Let me know down below what you found impactful. Let me know which questions you're looking forward to seeing. All right, I hope that this does help, and let's carry on with this. All right, then we have 1.2. Still part of section A, so remember it's still compulsory for every learner to do. So we've got a whole bunch of words there, and then we've got our sentences. So it says, complete the following statements by using the words in the list below. Write only the word next to the question number. So, and what takes place when a business is bought by another business? The answer is acquisition. Okay, remember, if I'm buying your business, I am acquiring your business. And according to the notes with acquisition, it's when you buy a business at an agreed price. So remember those keywords that you learned. Buy a business, agreed price is going to give it away to you that this one is an acquisition. Then just note, it says their alliance, one of the words. Now remember, when we have an alliance, we are merely working together. In no way am I owning your business. In no way am I buying your business. So just be careful. With most of these questions, they've got one that's like Same but different. So just be careful and look out for that with these types of questions. Then 1.2.2, members of Bundy CC have what limited for their debt of the business? So they have limited liability. Again, going back to the notes, you'll see this clearly. Then property rights of Malco Ltd is protected through the payment of royalties. Okay, just remembering that as well. So just be careful for its partner that might confuse you. What sector converts raw materials into new products? Now just remember with this one, we said in the previous question when we were doing the process of elimination, remember we said the secondary is the one that converts the raw materials. So the answer is going to be secondary. Okay, where's its buddy that's going to confuse you? Primary. So this is why I'm saying just be careful. They do that to obviously try and make it a little bit tricky for the learners so that they are testing correctly, and we can see, do learners know the difference? So sometimes there are those ones that might confuse a learner, but it's just to test your knowledge. Then shareholders of businesses do not pay what? In their personal capacity. They do not pay tax. Okay, shareholders of a company do not pay tax in their personal capacity. So with these questions, with the whole of section A, my advice would be, I call it process of elimination. So when you're going through them, especially with the multiple choice, try and look at all the options and remember all the options. We were talking about the beauty salon. So look at micro. You know micro is not a sector. So already, if you don't know the answer, scratch that one out. We know micro is not a sector. Primary, raw materials. Are we dealing with raw materials? No. Secondary, we change the raw materials to a product. We're taking wood and we are making a bench. Are we doing that here? No. We are rendering a service. So try and do that when going through them. So like I mentioned for the first one, let's look at the first one again. And what takes place when a business is bought by another business? Now, from what you can remember from primary school, if something says an, we know the next word is going to start with a vowel. So that's a little tip there. So already, if we look at all those options, we only have alliance and acquisition left. Okay. Now, again, we look at the two. We remember now, okay, we are buying another business. Is that alliance? No. In alliance, we do not buy another business. Do you see how this can help you? And what I used to do is cross out those options. So if there were a few, I would actually write little crosses, be like, no, it's not that one, it's not that one, it's not that one, and move on from there. Then we're moving into section B. So for the purpose of this video, I will be doing question 2, 3, and 4. But remember, you as a student only pick 2. And it can be any. You can pick question 2 and 3. You can pick question 2 and 4. Or you can do 3 and 4. It's really up to the student. I think it all depends on your knowledge. I know some of them you might find a bit trickier. Maybe you don't remember that knowledge. Whichever one works best for you, pick those 2 options. So I would advise during reading time that you actually go and look at the questions. And that's what, when I was a student, that's what I used to do. I used to... Section A, okay, cool. I used to look past because we're going to do it anyway. Section B, I would read the questions of all 3 and make little crosses and then say, okay, I'm thinking today I'm going to do 2 and 4 or whatever the case is. Look at the essay and try and figure out which one of the essay that I will be doing. So take your reading time. It's between 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how long the paper is. Take your reading time to decipher and decide which question you're going to do. All right, but let's continue with question 2. So in the video today, you'll see I've created a snippet. I just thought it was the best way to do it of every question. So I've got the question, and then once we've gone through it, I will then pop the answer straight down. So I have done screenshots that you'll see is a little different color, but it's because I've taken it exactly from the paper as is. So name 3 components of the macro environment. Okay. There's quite a lot of them. So we just need to name 3. And there they are. I didn't have the mark allocation for this one, but it's 3 marks. You're going to get 1 each. Now that's an important note at the bottom. Mark the first 3 only. So a student provides me with 6. I don't look for the correct answers. I mark the first 3. Just remember that when they ask you for questions like this. So we could have listed any 3 from below. Customers, consumers, suppliers, creditors, intermediaries, regulators, strategic allies, and unions. Any 7 of those, and we would have been A-OK, and we got our 3 marks. Remember, when they ask you to name, you are simply just listing. You are not using an explanation here. We are simply listing. Again, look at the mark allocation. They're asking for 3 marks. Then you can, remember in the beginning where it said we must see what they are asking and what the mark allocation is. Then we're moving on to 2.2, the nice fun one. It is the scenario. Now you know with most business studies papers, there will be a scenario. All right, so Bavi Manufacturers. Bavi Manufacturers is known for producing quality products. The management of BM mentioned that the business is experiencing a decline in profits due to the employees' high rate of absenteeism. Sounding a bit familiar. Maybe underline that, high rate of absenteeism. Banks have increased the rate of interest, making it difficult for BM to borrow loans. Increase of interest, underline that. BM buys their raw materials from Van suppliers who are late with their deliveries. Underline suppliers, late with their deliveries. All right. Then we get to the questions. The first question is asking us to quote 3 challenges for 3 marks. Then the second one's asking us to classify the challenge according to the 3 different business environments. Now when we talk environment, we're talking micro, macro, market. State the extent of control of every environment mentioned. So if you mention micro, how much control does it have? All right, so those ones that I highlighted to you, remember here we're looking for the challenges. It states the challenges. So already there we could see some of those kind of jumping out at us. So do that when you see a case study. Underline, highlight, put a circle around it, whatever you need to do to make it stand out for you. All right, there's the answer. Okay, I know it's all at one snapshot, but I'm going to go through each one. So we mentioned the high rate of absenteeism. So that's our challenge. Now, which environment does it fall part of? Micro. In micro, what control do we have? Full control. Okay, remember micro, inside the business, we have full control over it. Now, just to relate it back to the work, this one would be put under difficult employees because they're being difficult. They're absent often, maybe for no reason. So it would fit under difficult employees, even though they're not asking us that in this question. Then the second one, I told you to underline the late suppliers. Okay, so they're late for their deliveries. That is our challenge, challenge number 2. And it fits under market. Remembering market, we have partial, limited, or less control. Then the last one, banks have increased the rate of the interest, making it difficult for BM to borrow loans. There we're looking at macro, because remember, if we're talking anything interest rate, we're talking the external environment. And because it's external environment, we have 0 control over that. Absolutely no control. So we're right there, no control. Then look at the mark allocation. So for every challenge that you quoted, 1 mark each. Every environment, should it be correct, 1 mark each. And then the extent, 1 mark each. So this is a nice 9-mark question. A nice way how it's split up. So even if you got one of them wrong, you could still achieve most of the marks in this section, which is quite nice. And then just bear in mind, when you are quoting, because I also see this a lot with the students, please quote from the beginning of that sentence all the way to the full stop. Okay, I've had it before where students have said suppliers who are late on deliveries. No, If you are going to cut the quote and only shorten it and write as keywords, which I see often, then you won't get the marks awarded for that. So when we say quote, we are meaning from beginning to end, not just quoting one snippet. You can't just quote high rate of absenteeism. All right, I hope I'm making sense, but you need to quote the entire sentence. If you are confused, it's from where it starts all the way to the full stop. Then question 2.3. Explain the reasons why businesses lobby, and we can see there 4 marks. So now we know with business studies, 4 marks. Remember, every bullet, every fact is going to count 2 marks. So how many do we need here? A nice 2 bullets. All right, I've added quite a lot here. Just remember, when we are dealing with memos, we are showing and talking about the most correct answers. So a student could have picked any of these 2, but in the memo, we need to have all of them there. All right, so businesses lobby with their regulator or supervisory body to try and influence prices, policies, regulations, and other decisions made by the regulator or by the supervisory body. Now, do you see the split marking here? It's an interesting one, right? So, particular questions have split marking. Some questions have only 2 marks at the end of the sentence. Some have it split in between. So, if you had written, businesses lobby with their regulator, 1 mark. In order to achieve the 2nd mark, you would have had to complete the rest of the sentence. Then next one, businesses or people lobby to change laws like the child labor laws, clean air, water laws, municipal regulations, and so on and so forth. The views of lobby groups are important and they make a difference by giving solutions to business challenges. And lobbying advances businesses' causes and it builds public trust. So again, you can see 2 marks per fact, even though they split. So we need 2 bullets there of any of the following. All right, question 2.4. Advise businesses on how strategic responses can be used to adapt to the challenges of the business environment. Now, if you remember correctly, strategic responses and the word adapt to challenges, we're talking chapter 3, and hopefully we remember this content. Again, 4 marks, so we're going to look for 2 bullets here. Now, it's important to remember, I've just come to notice this word advise, and it's got some friends, I've got to mention his friends now, tend to throw the students off quite a bit, which is completely understandable. So if I'm telling you to give me advice, it seems like I'm asking for your own opinion, right? But no, not with business, okay? So don't let this word throw you off. If I'm asking you to advise the business on how strategic responses can adapt to challenges, I am asking for your knowledge. What do you remember from the notes? What do you remember from the textbook? So please, please, please just remember that. It isn't your own words and it's not your own concepts and ideas and opinions. So please remember that. So it's buddies. So we have advise. Its buddy is recommend and suggest. The 3 of them, not asking for your own opinion. Okay, the reason I'm mentioning this, and I stress it when I'm teaching my students at the school I'm teaching at as well, is because I've seen it too many times, especially with recommend and suggest, where students believe that now they must come up and be creative and come up with their own ideas. Unfortunately, not with business studies. So please, please, please make a note of that. Advise, suggest, and recommend, not your own words. All right. Okay, there is our answer. Now you see with this one, you get 2 marks for the whole sentence. So you could have used any of the following. Management needs to design strategic responses to various challenges by analyzing all the information and identifying the stakeholders involved. Businesses must get a clear picture of each stakeholder's viewpoint and their requirements. They need to be aware of the new competitors in the market, and they must be able to strategically respond to the threats. They must make strategic plans to remain sustainable in the competitive market. And correct strategic responses assist businesses to identify the most important features of their product. Now, again, like I have mentioned, we need 4 marks. 2 marks per bullet, so we need 2 bullets for that section. Now we're moving on to question 3. Name any 3 aspects that can be included in a prospectus. Now again, name 3 for 3 marks. So it's going to be 1 each. All right, there's a mouthful there. So it's actually quite a nice question because that's a lot to study and there's quite a lot of facts there. But now remember, we only need 3. So we just needed to write any 3 there. But important, mark the first 3 only. So if you've got 3, but your third one's wrong and you've put a 4th option and that's correct, unfortunately, we have to mark your first 3. So quickly going through them, we can give the name of the company, company overview, which includes the vision, mission, and goals of the business, product or service portfolio, market analysis and strategy, management team, the risks and potential of the business, available financial and share information, company's assets and liabilities, financial position, profits and losses, cash flow, prospectus for growth, pre-incorporation of contracts that must be signed, the date of the registration of the prospectus, the minimum subscription, the purpose of the offer, shared capital, shares issued, and then property owned and preliminary expenses. So, in my opinion, the ones that are nice to study, name of the company. Okay, remember, prospectus is a whole overview of the company. So every company must have a name. So, name of the company. Every company must have a vision, mission, and goals. It's a nice one to learn as well. And then we need to have a product or service portfolio. What does that mean? It means every single thing that we offer needs to be there. So I was looking the other day, I use this as an example a lot while I'm teaching, is the company Scrub Daddy. So with that company, it literally started with a yellow sponge with 2 eyes and a mouth. That was it. If you look at their product portfolio now, there's Scrub Daddy, there's a Scrub Mommy. I think there's one that has 2 different sides to it that can scrub differently. There's another one that looks similar to Handy Andy. It's a multi-purpose cleaner. So you see the different portfolios. When we are talking about Coca-Cola, they have obviously Coke, they've got Fanta, they've got Sprite. Now, Fanta has Fanta Grape, Fanta Pineapple, Fanta Orange. Okay, so that's what we're talking about, our product or our service portfolio. It's every single thing that we offer within our business. All right, so 3 there, 1 mark each. It's a nice name. These questions might either be called name or list, which means you just need to list the options. We're not doing any explanation here. Then 3.2, we need to outline the legal requirements of a company for 4 marks. Now, when we use the word outline, this is another one that often gets the students in a spin. Outline is name and explain. The countless times I've seen a learner just name, you will get half the marks or even a quarter of the marks. Outline is name and explain. So let's go through them. All right, again, it's a bit of a mouthful, but now remembering 4 marks, 2 marks per bullet, so we only need 2 bullets here. So the legal requirements is reserving a name for the company is the first step into registering a company. Okay, when you're studying, now guys, look, when you're studying, remember the previous question also had the name of a company. Now we all know in order to have a company, we need a name. Even though it's not compulsory, how are people going to identify us? Okay, if I'm selling pancakes, I need a name. Sam's Pancakes, Gloria's Pancakes, pancakes sold here, I don't know, but our company needs a name. If the name is reserved at the CIPC, it cannot be used by another company. So if I reserve and I register my name, no other company may use that same name as what I have. Then names can be reserved by a business for 6 months. The name of a company is subject to the approval of the CIPC. They need to approve it. Why? Because they need to check, does someone else have this name? Is it copyright? All right. The name of a company must be original and it cannot be misleading. I can't say it's Sally's Pancakes, but I've got a car wash business. That's a bit misleading, and the people are not going to understand. But if we've got a generic name like Nike, Nike could sell clothing or shoes because it's not a specific thing. But if in our name, like Passion Footwear, it's in their name. So it's going to be difficult for them to maybe offer other products because it might be a little misleading. They cannot use the name of a company that is already used by another company. Do you see that this bullet is similar to the other bullet? Can you write both? Of course you can. A company's name must appear on all the company documents. Any document you have for the company, you need the company name on it. The name of a company must be shown the type of business that it is. So we have all the following. All right, so the name of a non-profit needs to end with NPC. The name of a personal liability company needs to end with Incorporated or Inc. The name of a private company needs to end with Proprietary Limited, Pty Ltd. The name of a public company needs to end with Limited or just Ltd. The name of a state-owned company needs to end with SOC Ltd. And then at the bottom, any relevant answer besides this that is obviously relevant and according to the notes will be accepted. 2 bullets, 2 marks each. All right, scenario time again. So read the scenario and answer the questions below. Just another tip that I forgot to mention. When doing your scenarios, what I would advise is read the questions first. The reason I'm saying that, we had that with the previous question with the challenges. If you read the questions, you can really see what you need to look out for. So with the challenges, if you had read there, quote the challenges from the scenario, while you're reading it, you would have picked up and highlighted the challenges. All right, so just my opinion, just my word of advice, but that's something I would advise the students to do. It just helps not make it feel so daunting. So let's read the questions first, and then we'll read the scenario. So the first one is identify the form of ownership represented by JA. So now already there, we're being triggered, right? We need to look out for a form of ownership. Okay, bear that in mind. Then we need to motivate our answer by quoting from the scenario. All right, so what type of ownership is it? The form of ownership, and then quoting the answer. Then the last one is explain the difference between the form of ownership you have identified and the private company. Okay. Jassim attorneys. So Jane, Stacy, and Emily are law students. They want to establish a law business where the members are jointly and severely liable for the debts. There's your keyword, jointly. If we're doing it jointly, we have a partnership, isn't it? So remember, sometimes when you read these, remember your notes. Jointly and severely liable for the debts. Okay, moving on. The company will be named Jassim Attorneys. So let's see what the memo says. Partnership it is. So now with this type of question, partnership, you get 2 marks. Then for quoting, we are quoting that first sentence. Now again, do you see it is quoted from the beginning of the sentence all the way until the full stop. So they want to establish a law business where the members are jointly and severely liable for the debts. Okay, like I said, the word joint, if we are joining something or coming together, we know that we have a partnership here. And remember, we needed to look out for a form of ownership when we were reading this. Now, just note on that. If you had mentioned public company and you had quoted, you won't get any marks for that. So with this question, it doesn't have a note there. But with this question, most memos will state that the form of ownership, the identifying, has to be correct in order for the quoting to get the marks. But now let's say we mentioned partnership, but we quoted the last sentence. The company will be named Jassim Attorneys. You will still get the marks. You get the 2 marks for your partnership, but you won't get the mark for quoting. So remember, in order, if you have named correctly and quoted correctly, you'll get the 3 marks. If you have named correctly but quoted incorrectly, you'll get the marks for just naming, but no marks for quoting. If your quote is correct, but your naming is wrong, 0. Okay. Then just on the second question there, so explaining the difference with the one identified in 3.3.1. Remember, so now we know which one did we identify? Partnership. So we need to explain the difference between partnership and private company. Now, unfortunately, with these questions that build on, if we had mentioned the wrong form of ownership, like public company, and we're comparing the two, we would lose quite a bit of marks. All right, they've done it in a table form. Do you need to do it in a table form? No. You can have them out as partnership, list the differences, private company, list the differences. So this is a 4-mark question. Do you see a sub-max 2 each? Okay, so with this question, you actually only needed 1 bullet each. To be safe, if I were you, I would have just added 2 each just to be safe and to make sure I secure those marks. All right, so a partnership. This is an agreement between 2 or more persons. Each partner contributes to the partnership, so they contribute their skills, resources, money into the business. Now look, remember the split marking. Profit or loss are shared amongst the partners according to the partnership agreement. Partnerships are not legal entities. No legal requirement is required regarding the name of the business. And then any other thing that's relevant. Now we're looking at private company. Requires 1 or more directors and 1 or more shareholders. Private company is not bound to publish their prospectus when issuing shares. Profits are shared in the form of dividends in the portion to the share that is held. Private companies are subject to many legal requirements, and then register with the registrar of companies by drawing up a memorandum of incorporation. If in this question your partnership was all correct and you got your 2 marks, but your private company wasn't correct, you would still get the 2 marks. That's what's nice sometimes about how the mark allocation is split. So with this question, you'd still get your 50%, right? Because you'd get your 2 out of 4. Okay, moving on. Then advise the business on the characteristics of a partnership. Now again, we have that funny word. Funny word with these buddies. Advise, suggest, and recommend. Not your own words. All right. So we need to advise the business on the characteristics for 6 marks. Now again, if every bullet's 2 marks each, we know we need 3 bullets. 2, 4, and 6. All right. Again, it's a mouthful for this one. So remember, these are all the possible correct answers. You only need to provide 3. A partnership is an agreement between 2 or more persons, 2 marks. And again, you see this one doesn't have split marks. Each partner contributes to the partnership. So for example, their skills, resources, or money. Profits or losses are shared amongst the partners according to the partnership agreement. They are not legal entities. This means that they do not pay tax in their personal capacities. Profit is divided amongst the partners in a ratio that is agreed in the partnership agreement. No legal requirements regarding the name. Do you see some of this is a bit of a repeat? So when teachers or examiners are setting up papers, they just need to make sure we have this thing called double testing, because we've just mentioned the differences and now the characteristics. So in some way, it's nice, easy marks for the students, I understand. But if I were to set this paper, I would have changed this question, because you are now asking partnerships twice and you are repeating. So I would have changed this question to say, advise the business on characteristics of a public company. I would have chosen a different company or changed the question entirely. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to continue. Partnerships have unlimited liability and are jointly and severely liable for the debts of the business. Auditing of financial statements is optional. Partners shares responsibility and they are all involved in the decision making. No legal formalities to start. Only a written partnership agreement is required to start this type of company. Partnerships have no legal personality, therefore has no continuity when a partner leaves the business. They would have to create a new partnership. The partners share responsibility and are all involved in decision making. That bullet to repeat, apologies for that. The legal liabilities lie with the partners and they cannot shift the liability of the business. So again, any 3 bullets there, 2 marks each would give you your nice 6 marks. All right, so let's continue. Question 4. Define the meaning of trade unions for 2 marks. 2 marks, again, 1 bullet. Remember, 1 bullet will give us our 2 marks. Can you add 2 bullets? Of course you can. Okay. My rule of thumb that I normally tell students is try and write more. Except if it's a name or list and they say mark the first 3. But if you're giving me 2 or 3 bullets here and the first one is completely wrong, I still have another option to mark. All right, so just bear that in mind. So the meaning of a trade union. A trade union is an association that advances the rights of workers within a business through negotiation with the employer. Now you see the split marking once again. Members of a trade union pay a membership fee and organize and manage its operations. Shop stewards represent trade union members and are elected by the members. All right, so this is just the meaning of a trade union. Now, just be careful because I've seen this a lot with students. With trade unions, they like to write, trade unions are the voice for the employees. It's not in your notes, so therefore you can't write that. Okay, you can remember it, but try and remember that it's an association that advances the rights of the workers. And then with the voice, we can remember the negotiation between the two. So just be very careful with business is, unless it is, if it's not according to the note as is, you're not going to get the marks for it. We do look out for keywords, but something like that is going to be wrong because it's not that it becomes a voice for the employees. Okay, so just be very, very careful when studying it like that. Then identify the challenges of the macro environment affecting Jimmy trading with each of the statements below. So identifying the challenge for each, you're going to get 2 marks for each of them. So consumer spending has decreased due to salary cuts caused by the COVID-19 regulations. The answer there is changes in income levels. Then customers are taking advantage of the Consumer Protection Act. The challenge there is changes in legislation. Now remember we mentioned the macro environment. So already when you read that question, you can highlight macro environment. We know we're looking external, things we cannot control. So changes in income levels, we can't control that. We can't control the fact that during COVID-19, people were receiving half their salary, 30% of their salary. Are you with me? Then challenges in legislation. We can't control the fact if there are new laws being put in place, if laws are being adapted and changed. We just have to know them and be able to abide by them and follow through. Then 4.3, explain a function of a trade union. Don't let this confuse you to the first question. The first question was explain the meaning. Here we are looking at the function. So function, how do they operate? What do they do with a trade union? 2 marks, so 1 bullet. All right, so the functions. They represent employees to defend them against discrimination and abuse in the workplace. They empower employees about their rights in the workplace and how to apply these rights. They represent employees in meetings with their employers when they face workplace grievances and disputes. They negotiate good working conditions, salaries, wages, and benefits for employees with their employer to improve the standard of living for the workers. Employees are protected from unfair dismissal and labor practices. They may take legal action on behalf of their members when necessary. So we needed 2 marks there. You can see the split marking. Just be careful of the split marking. All right, then identify the form of ownership represented in each statement below. Malco Bakeries is personally responsible for all the debts and losses when they're in the business. If you are personally responsible, the answer is going to be sole trader or sole proprietor. The keyword there was personally responsible for all the debts. Okay, don't let it confuse you with personal liability company. Just be careful there. Then Tito Limited, there's already your keyword, raises additional capital by issuing a secondary offer to communities. The answer is public company. Remember, we said a public company needs to end with limited or LTD. So do you see these small little keywords that just pop out at you that might help you to trigger the information that you have studied? So 2 marks each, 4 marks for this question. Then the last one there, advise Tito Limited on the advantages of the form of ownership mentioned in 4.4.2. So now we know 4.4.2 was the public company. So again, highlight these things. Don't let them confuse you, because some might read it and say the advantages of the form of ownership. Ooh, and then you remember the sole trader. Remember, highlight. Let this help you. Okay. So again, if in 4.4.2 you mentioned the wrong company and now you're giving advantages on that company, unfortunately, you're going to lose those 2 marks there and you're going to lose the 6 marks here. So, advantages of a public company. You can see there we're getting 2 full marks. There's no split marking here. It's a max of 6, so 3 bullets. Shareholders have limited liability for the debt of the company. May raise funds directly from the public by offering securities to the public. Continuity of existence. Public companies can raise more money than other forms of ownership. The business has its own identity and can own its assets. No limitation of shareholders, so growth is not limited. Strict regulatory requirements protect shareholders. The shareholders are regularly informed about the business performance, and then competent and knowledgeable directors may be appointed by the shareholders. Now, we just needed any 3 there, that would have counted. Just be careful for that point number 3. It says continuity of existence. Now remember, those are kind of just keywords. So please try and remember full sentences. I know the marks were awarded here, but just be careful for these questions. You can say, a public company has continuity of existence. That's a full sentence. So now, for section B, there's a total of 40 marks because you've answered 20 marks and 20 marks. Whether you've done question 2, 3, or 4, you can pick the combo, which one that you have done and which one you prefer to do. Now we're moving over to section C, the essays. So you got question 5 and 6. You can choose. I'm going to first go through question 5 in its entirety, and then we'll do the full question 6 in its entirety too. So business environment, we've got a little piece there to read. Socioeconomic issues pose many challenges on the business, especially income and population and unavailability of resources. Ethical misconduct also poses challenges to the business as they are committed by employees in the workplace. Businesses must find ways to deal with piracy as one of the socioeconomic issues. Just be very careful. I've seen this time and time again. Students like to use some of these sentences with their introduction or within their essay. It's not included because I've given you this little snippet. So you cannot use any of these as part of your essay. Just bear that in mind. Then we have write an essay on the socioeconomic issues and include the following aspects. Elaborate on the meaning of socioeconomic issues. Explain the negative impact of the following: income and population growth and lack of skills. Discuss 3 types of ethical misconduct, and then advise businesses on the solutions to deal with piracy. Now there are 4 bullets, right? I'm talking about the solid black dots. 4 bullets. Those 4 bullets make up your 4 headings. Very, very, very important. Okay, so with every single essay in business studies, we have an introduction, a conclusion, and our 4 headings in the middle. Now, the second one does have 2 subheadings, but please remember when you're writing the heading, you need to write it as explain the negative impact of the following socioeconomic issues. Then you can write income with its description and lack of skills with its description. You can use these headings as is. You can write there the meaning of socioeconomic issues as your first heading, explanation, negative impact, so and so, next one, 3 types of ethical misconduct, and then solutions to deal with piracy. Those will be your 4 headings. Okay, 40 marks. This one counts a lot out of the paper. If you think 40 marks out of 100, it's almost half. So I stand to be corrected, but what I normally advise the students is remember with a paper, depending on your teacher. Okay, so please just be careful. Depending on your teacher, please make sure you listen to what your teacher says. Every teacher does have their own preferences. But in my case, I don't mind in what order students do their questions. As long as they have worded it and numbered it correctly, I don't mind. So I suggest to my learners that they do the essay first. The reason being why? This counts 40 marks. So as you've walked into that test or that exam, that knowledge is fresh. I know, I see students standing outside, opening their textbooks, and they're all busy studying and collaborating. So that information is fresh. You also haven't had any questions try and distract you and confuse you, right? I know sometimes you might have a lack of self-esteem because when you go through a question and then you forget the information, okay? Because I know this happens. Then you sit there and you've hit a blank. Then your self-esteem drops. Now you don't have confidence in yourself for the rest of the paper. So to avoid all of that, I would advise to do the essay first. Do your 40 marks first. It's the bulk of the paper. Do your 40 marks first. Get that done with. Then you can do section A and section B. I also noticed that students with time management, they spend too much time on section A and B that they virtually have 15 minutes or sometimes even 10 minutes to do the entire essay. Don't put yourself under that pressure. Do your essay first, because remember in section B, as much as it's also 20 marks, making the 40 marks, it's split into individual questions. So if you maybe plan your time badly and you don't have enough time to finish, at least then you've got individual questions, not an entire essay to try and do in 10 minutes. All right, just my advice. Just my opinion, but please, please, please make sure. I don't want teachers out there to be upset that teacher Ilona has said this. This is what I advise to my students. It is allowed, but every teacher has their different preferences. All right. Then here would be your structure for your essay. All right. So obviously you're going to have bullet points there. The information was a bit small, so you're not going to have 2 bullets by all those 4 headings. I would say at least put 5 or 6. Okay, to guarantee that you get all your marks. Now, remembering we use FLASO as the marking guidelines. I'm going to go to it at the end of the section. So the F, we are looking for facts. It is maxed at 32. The L, we're looking at your layout. The A is your analysis. S is your synthesis. And your O is your originality. Right. So if you add your 5 bullets under each of the 4 headings. So now you got those 5 bullets. Every bullet, counts for 2 marks should you get awarded the full marks for being correct. So now with your 4 headings, you're looking at 10, 20, 30, and 40. We max that at 32. So if you're providing me with 40 potential facts, right, or marks worth of facts, then I've got a bigger chance in order to mark your paper. All right, and a bigger chance for you to achieve that 32 max. Okay, so just a few things. I mentioned FLASO, there's FLASO. So, important to award nice, quick and easy marks. When I award my layout, my first L is going to be at introduction. Now, if you've written your essay and you did not write introduction, you're going to lose the mark there. Now, what do we look for when we're marking the layout? I'm looking for introduction with something written underneath. Students normally look very puzzled when I use those words. At this stage, when I am marking layout, I am not reading what you have written under introduction. I'm looking, did you write introduction? And is there something written underneath? If so, you get your first L. Same as conclusion. I'm looking for conclusion and a bit written underneath. I don't read it at this stage. You get your second L. You already have 2 out of the 40 marks for literally just writing introduction, conclusion, and something underneath, right? This is just a word of advice if you run out of time. Where will I be reading your introduction and your conclusion? When I'm looking at your facts. Remember, 2 marks for intro, 2 marks for conclusion. But layout, I'm looking for introduction and something underneath. If you write introduction and you didn't write anything underneath, you don't get that mark for layout. Are you with me? Okay, then we have our 4 headings. If I have written my 4 headings out with nothing underneath, listen carefully. 4 headings, right? It's the elaborate on the meaning, the negative impact, ethical misconduct, and the solutions, right? I've written those 4 headings out with nothing underneath. I get a mark for A, for analysis. Okay? Sounds easy? I've already received my 3 marks. Easy 3 marks that can be guaranteed in any essay. Introduction, something underneath. 4 headings, conclusion, something underneath. Now it's important. There are 2 A's that you get for an essay. So when I am marking your essay, once I've finished writing this, when I am marking your essay and you have achieved 16 marks and above, I will write your second A there. At the end of your last paragraph there, with your last heading, I will give you your second A. So there, again, 4 easy marks. But I have to reach that level of 16 in order to give you your second A. So what I normally do, when I mark my students' essays, the first thing I do is my L for layout. Introduction, something underneath, first L. Conclusion, with something underneath, second L. I count your 4 headings, A. Then I go back to introduction and I start marking the entire essay. So let's go through it. All right, so just bearing in mind the structure I had there on the previous page is how you're going to write your essay out. My slides are landscape, so it's broken up into pieces, just so that it's big enough for students to see, and while I'm going through the video, it can be helpful. So introduction. Now you are receiving for intro only 1 mark per fact. Okay, just important there. So socioeconomic issues are challenges that affect people and the economy in a negative way, 1 mark. These issues affect consumer spending and place burdens and expenditure on businesses. Extra financial strain is put on the government to create jobs to lessen the burden of socioeconomic issues. If you have, and now it says at the bottom, any other related answer that is related to socioeconomic issues. So normally what I advise with students is, now we know with all the socioeconomic issues, we have dumping, we have illiteracy, we have the use of the resources. You can use any of those meanings or the impact part of your introduction. As long as it is facts that are in your textbook and your notes, anything on socioeconomic issues, the marks can be awarded therefore. So 2 marks there. Then the meaning of socioeconomic issues. Here we are looking for, now this is very important, and I need students to understand this. We're looking for a max of 6 marks. So what does that mean when someone's marking? When I'm marking the meaning, this is your first heading, I will be looking through every single bullet that you have written. I need to read every single one and give you your 6 marks. If by the first 3 bullets, let's say for argument's sake, you gave 6 bullets because you were really making sure you got those marks. You gave 6 bullets. Your first 3 were correct. I mark them, right? 6 marks, and I write there max at the bottom. I don't mark your last 3 because you have reached the max. The nice thing with these maxes is it does give allowance if students have made a mistake or one of the bullets is incorrect. I have to read every single bullet. So let's go through it. Socioeconomic issues are challenges that affect people and the economy in a negative way. Be careful now. Be very, very, very careful. Do you see that I put that in introduction? So can I give you the marks for that? No, no, no. Okay, very, very careful. You will get an R written next to it and it'll be repeating information. You'll lose a mark for synthesis if this continues to happen. Okay, the next two, also a repeat. Okay, so just be careful. What I normally tell students, so with this example, what would I have done? I would have changed my introduction. Because I've now used the meaning of socioeconomic issues in my intro. Do you see that? And we can't have repeating information. Okay, so give the meaning, but then I would have given the meaning of the dumping within the first part. So again, this memo should have been adjusted and adapted in order to not make mistakes like this. All right. Then the negative impact on the following issues. Okay, for this section, so for income and population growth, it's a max of 6 marks. Again, I'm going to go through all of these. There are 2, 4, 6, 8 bullets there. So if a student gave me 8 bullets, I mark until I have my 6 marks. Many South Africans live in poverty, which limits their buying power. Businesses of this limited customer spending because businesses are unable to grow and prosper. Now again, have you noticed the split marking? Consumers opt to spend money on cheaper goods and products. Low-income earners mainly spend their money on basic goods and services, thus leading to lower profits for the business. As the population of South Africa continues to grow, businesses are challenged to provide goods and services that meet the customer demands. This may place a lot of financial strain on the business. Business growth may lead to a creation of jobs for some people. A high population growth may put strain on natural resources of the country. The economy may also be put under strain because increasing numbers of individuals who will require support from the government. So 6 marks, 3 bullets. Happy. Let's continue. Now we're looking at the lack of skills. So there we've also been given 2, 4, 5, gets maxed at 6. So the student perhaps gave me a potential 10 marks. I maxed it at 6. Unskilled employees could spend considerable time seeking assistance to perform their work. They may perform tasks without the appropriate knowledge and expertise, which could lead to poor performance. The time spent on assisting unskilled workers can reduce the productivity levels in the workplace. This could lead to errors and having to repeat or correct a work or task. Businesses may be required to increase the budget for skills development programs. All right, so any 6 there? Okay, I see a slight little error there. It says max 16. I feel it should have either been max 12 or for each one it should have been out of 8. Okay, apologies for that. But what that means is, okay, let's work off 12. So my first part of the question is going to be at 6 marks. The second part is out of 6 marks. I mark until I get my 6. I mark until I get my 6. So for the second heading, we are looking for 12 marks. All right. Then the types of ethical misconduct. Now this one's very important. Okay. They have not told us what the types are. So for just merely listing, we're getting 2 marks. But please, if there's anything that I could warn students, please, please, please don't ever list in an essay. Okay, think if you're writing an essay, it's an essay. You can't be listing in an essay. Okay, you're not just naming, you need to name and explain. But luckily for this question, so the sub-max there is out of 4. If you only gave it, you would have gotten your 2 marks. But again, it's not something I would advise for students to do. Don't ever just list in an essay because you're getting half the marks. Don't rob yourself of those marks, okay? So the first type of ethical misconduct, we're looking at sexual harassment. You're getting your 2 marks there. Then we need one more bullet. Sub-max is 4. Sexual harassment in the workplace involves unwelcome or unwanted conduct of a sexual nature from someone at work. This unwelcome or unwanted conduct causes discomfort for the victim and causes them to be embarrassed. The victim may also be unable to concentrate or focus on their work. Again, careful for split marking. Okay, 4 marks there. Then the next one, corruption. Corruption again, 2 marks. Corruption refers to any act of dishonesty such as bribery, theft, collusion, kickbacks, and so on. It occurs when 2 parties enter into an illegal agreement from which they both benefit. This means that there will be a misuse of power or position for monetary gain. So again there, submax 4, 2 marks for the heading, 2 marks for an explanation. Mismanagement of funds, 2 marks. Mismanagement of funds refers to the wrongful use of funds, for example, irregular expenditure that does not belong to the person or employee. It involves dishonest activities in which a person entrusted with authority in a business abuses his or her position or trust to achieve personal gain. This person usually disregards laws and financial policy guidelines for another person or organization. Most mismanagement lawsuits involve some form of negligence or neglect on the account of the liable party. So now the question stated for us to outline the 3 types of ethical misconduct. So submax 4 each, so we're going to get a max of 12 here. But now remember, when the person is marking, okay, I've marked the first one, you only got 2 marks. Second one, you got your 4. Third one, you got your 4. I cannot now, in corruption, give you extra marks. It has to be maxed at 4 for every type of heading. Are you with me? Okay, just to explain it like that, because I think students are not aware of how these questions are being marked. My advice would definitely be go look at past papers. Go look at how the memo looks. Go look at what we're asking from you. So just remember here the 3 types. If you have not mentioned one type, you'll still get the marks for the other 2. Then the solutions to deal with piracy. Now again, we didn't mention them. So mentioning the word copyright, you're getting your 2 marks. So laws relating to copyright protect authors and allow them to sell their works to make a profit. Exclusive rights are given to an author or artist when their product is copyrighted, and only they give permission for replication. Copyright owners of intellectual property can take legal action against anyone who reproduces their work. Submax 4 marks. 2 marks for the heading, 2 marks for explanation. Then patent, you're also getting your 2 marks. A patent gives the creator of the product the right to prohibit other people from making or using their invention. This right is granted by the government for a limited period of up to 20 years for exclusive rights to the invention. If any person or business uses this invention without permission, the creator may take legal action against them. 2 marks heading, 2 marks explanation, so we only need 1 bullet here. Then the last one there for the solutions is trademark. A trademark refers to a sign, character, or word that is protected by the law and represents a product or company. These are used by businesses so that their product or their business itself is easily identifiable. Trademarks that are registered and protected forever on condition that they are renewed every 10 years by paying a renewal fee. Damages may be claimed for individuals who make use of the trademark illegally. Now there you see, submax of 4, but it's a max of 12. So you're going to get your 4, 8, 12 there. Then your conclusion. You can use anything here in the conclusion, anything that wasn't asked, like I've mentioned, dumping, illiteracy, anything that wasn't asked you can use here in your conclusion. Just make sure you are not mentioning something you have already mentioned because it's going to be repeat. Local businesses lose profits as they cannot compete with making the same products for cheaper prices. Businesses are encouraged to adjust their products to cater for the latest trends so that customers can purchase the products or services. Businesses need to find solutions to piracy so that they could use profits if piracy continues. Now here you need 1 bullet that we're marking for 2 marks. So intro, remember, 2 marks, 1 each. Conclusion, 1 bullet, 2 marks. Alright, then I want to show you this table. This table is very important. Students don't have access to it in the exam, but if you follow a certain strategy, it might be easy to kind of figure it out. So we can see then our intro and conclusion is 2 marks each. Now every section, like I said, has a submax. So we've got 6, 16, 12, and 12. When you calculate all of those together, you get a max of 50. So for your facts, we are giving an allowance of 50 marks that we max at 32. That's why I encourage and I stress with my learners, if you know more, please write more. If you know more, write more. Absolutely. If you have forgotten the meaning of socioeconomic issues, write something there. But if you know so much about the solutions to deal with piracy, write everything you know. Because remember, the solutions to piracy, I'm submaxing it at 12, which means I must mark until I've reached my 12 marks. Okay, so if you give me 10 bullets, I need to read all those 10 bullets. So what I normally tell my students is go for an average of 5 to 6 bullets per subheading. That should safeguard you to get about 40 marks, which will max at 32. Also, because you're giving me 40 marks worth of facts, it gives some allowance if 1 or 2 of them are not correct, and you could still be securing your 32. Then your insights is 8 marks. So there we're looking for the lasso in FLASO. So it's your layout, your analysis, your synthesis, and your originality. Remember with originality, very, very important, you need 2 originality examples under different headings. It's going to be 1 mark each, and it has to be in the last 2 years. 2 originality, 2 different headings, last 2 years. It's a nice way to remember it. All right, then you should get your 8 marks, and then that gives us a total of your 40 marks. Let's move on to question 6. All right, so here we are saying there are different avenues of acquiring a business that are available for new entrepreneurs. Some may decide to purchase an existing business, while others prefer to lease business assets and equipment. Existing businesses prefer to outsource services that are not frequently offered. Franchise businesses are an alternative to outsourcing if people want to own a business. Then we have write an essay on avenues acquiring a business, which could include the following aspects. Outline the reasons of why entrepreneurs purchase existing businesses. Explain the advantages and disadvantages of leasing. Discuss the contractual implication of outsourcing. Advise businesses on the advantages and disadvantages of franchising. So there you have it. There's your 4 headings. Remember what I said about those 4 headings? We're going to get to it next. 4 headings, intro, conclusion. Don't forget. 40 marks. So here would be our layout. We've got our intro with our 4 headings and our conclusion. Okay, this is a bit of a repeat. We're dealing with FLASO. I've explained what is FLASO. Your L, introduction, something underneath. Conclusion, something underneath. Will give you your 2nd mark for layout. If you have written your 4 headings but there's nothing underneath, you get your first A. Once I have marked the essay and I see that you have 16 marks and above, you get your 2nd A. Let's dive into the information. So, introduction. Remember, you need 2 bullets, 1 mark each. Prospective franchisors need to do thorough research before entering into a franchise agreement. A contractual obligation of a franchise is an agreement signed by the franchisor and the franchisee. Businesses can also lease equipment and vehicles instead of buying them. Some businesses prefer to outsource some of their functions to specialized service providers. The reasons why entrepreneurs purchase existing businesses. Submax there is 12 marks. Do you see that? It's 12 marks. So again, I'm going to mark until I've reached my 12 marks. So 2 marks each per bullet. So here, your 6 bullets would give you your 12 marks. An established business should not take up too much time to set up, as all the requirements needed to run the business is already in place. An established business should have an existing customer base. When an entrepreneur buys an existing business, it may come with the goodwill from the established good reputation on the market. The market research has already been done for the existing business, so the new owner can use that information to inform any plans for the future. If you purchase an existing business, the owner may too often be willing to stay on for an agreed amount of time to mentor and guide the incoming owner. An existing business already has customers and continued cash flow. A startup can take too long to attract new customers and become a cash positive. Many existing companies have 3 or more years of profitable financials that make it easier to secure financing either from a traditional bank, government organization, or a venture capitalist. 12 marks there. Again, remember, as many bullets as you give me, I must mark all the bullets. Then the advantages and disadvantages of leasing. For the advantages, we are maxing it at 8, so we need 4 bullets. Advantages. Leasing costs are tax deductible. It is easier to find finance for a lease agreement than purchasing an expensive asset that may be expensive. The asset is used only until it is no longer needed or at the end of the lease term. The lessor is usually an expert in the field. Maintenance is conducted regularly and should be written into the contract. Technicians are always on standby to offer advice and training. The reputation of the company that leases the asset is at stake, so it will make sure that the leasee receives the best after sales service. Any of those 4 would have given you your 8 marks. Now remember, it's saying advantages and disadvantages. So if you only give the advantages, the most you're going to get here is your 8 marks. Then the disadvantages, submax 8. At the end of the leasing period, the leasee does not automatically become the owner of the asset. No added tax advantages can be derived from the leasing expenses. Lease payments are treated as expenses, not as payments towards an asset. When paying lease payments towards a property, the business cannot benefit from any appreciation in the value of the property. Lease expenses reduce the net income of a business. It may be difficult for a business to raise or access further loans because leasing is treated as debt. A lease agreement is a complex process and requires thorough documentation and proper examination of an asset being leased. The leasee normally remains responsible for the maintenance and proper operation of the asset being leased. Now, you had a submax of 8, so you're going to reach a max for this heading for 16. Then the contractual implication of outsourcing. It is the responsibility of the outsourced business to pay the outsourced provider the fee which is agreed upon. In return, it is the responsibility of the outsourced provider to deliver the service which is agreed upon. Some details that should be addressed in the outsourced agreement are the responsibility and rights of both parties, the length or duration of the contract, a confidentiality clause to protect privileged information, and then anything else that's relevant. Max 8 marks. The advantages of franchising for 10 marks. An operational franchise is an established business, so there is less financial risk. Franchisees and their staff receive training and support from the franchisor. Banks will be more likely to grant financial assistance to an established business. The product is already known in the market. Franchisors benefit from lower costs due to centralized buying from the franchisor. Okay, 10 marks there, 5 bullets, 2 facts each. Then the conclusion. Franchise agreements outline the roles and responsibilities between the franchisor and the franchisee. Leasing is a contract outlining the terms under which one party agrees to rent goods and services owned by another party. Outsourcing is an agreement in which one company hires another company to supply services or goods that can be done internally by the company's employees. Now remember, anything that wasn't asked in the 4 headings can be used as intro or conclusion. Just be careful you don't repeat information. So, 1 bullet here, counting for 2 marks. Can you write 2 bullets? Yes. Safeguard yourself. If I were you, write 2 for intro, 2 for conclusion. Therefore, conclusion, you have a bit of a leeway in case one of them is incorrect. Then the breakdown for this one. Okay, intros 2 marks, conclusions 2 marks. Now do you see there 12 marks, 16 marks, 8 marks, 10 marks. It's quite different from question 5. You can go back in the video to compare the two, but the maxes are quite different. Add those all together and you're getting a max of 50 marks again. So if I mark all the maxes, the student may receive 50 marks, but then I max it at 32. Do you see how there's a lot of leeway if students get something wrong? That's why I tell students, please write more. I would say 5 to 6 bullet points per heading, but if you know more, please, please, please write more. Then we have our insight, that's our lasso, our layout, our analysis, our synthesis, and our originality. Okay. All right, there's the resources I told you I made use of for the video. I have used the practice test for term 1 at the end of term 1 in the learner book as part of the video today. And I really hope that you guys got insights and I hope it was helpful. It was one of my longer videos. I think it's one of the longest ones on the channel at this stage. But I know that these past paper videos, there's quite a lot to go through and there's quite a lot to explain. So it's expected that it's a bit longer. But I really hope that you guys did find insight. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video today. I know that past papers have been requested multiple times. I will be doing for grade 10 and grade 12 as well. I just need to prepare the slides for those two. If there's anything else you're looking forward to, I am planning on doing June as well. Just remember June, we have a paper 1 and a paper 2. So I'm going to do those as 2 separate videos just to make life a little bit easier for you guys. But I want to wish you guys all the best. I know the test series is starting for most schools this week. But in a week or 2 to come, the test series will be starting. So all the best of luck. And I hope that my videos are helping you. I've seen a lot of the feedback and the feedback is positive. So that's a good thing. And just thank you for all the support. If you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel as I post business studies for grades 10, 11 and grade 12. And I hope to see you guys again in my next video. Bye for now.